Hey everybody, Andy Kvernen here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I recently began working out again as I've got a couple of trips coming up that really require some physical fitness. And so it's been a great motivator for me to start running, walking, doing some push-ups, doing some sit-ups, and trying to get my body in at least a reasonable physical shape for what's to come. Now, one of the realities for me, every time I begin an exercise regimen after not having exercised for a while, is that my body starts to ache very quickly in the process. And Christy would probably say, rightly so, that I tend to milk that and I tend to exaggerate my pain, and I suppose that could be true. And yet it's there. My body starts to hurt before it feels better. And I tell you what, a part of me, because of that groaning, because of that physical pain, is resistant to continuing. I don't want to continue. And I want to get off the exercise regimen so I don't have to feel that pain. But then there's part of me that starts to think, hey, this is actually working. And I've got a destination in mind, and I know what's to come. And so this is going to be worth it. The physical groaning that I experience now is going to be worth it in the future. And friends, that reality is actually a quite biblical reality, a biblical theme that Paul takes us to in the book of 2 Corinthians. In chapter 4, we understood that Paul's challenged us to fix our eyes on what is seen, not on what is fix our eyes on what is unseen, not on what is seen, is important. We understand that what is seen is only temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. And therefore, Paul encourages us to fix our eyes on that which is unseen, because that is what lasts. And in the midst of the groaning, when we keep our eye on what God is doing in us and through us and around us, when we fix our eyes on that which is unseen, we tend to have motivation for enduring the groaning. And Paul continues this theme in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And I want to read just the first several verses to you out of the chapter. He says, "For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands." Friends, our reality is that over and over, the temporal things of this world disappoint us. Over and over, the things that are a part of this existential existence, this reality, that this brick and mortar, this physical flesh, all of these things, they disappoint us. Because guess what? Flesh fails. Buildings deteriorate. Human riches don't last. But there is a heavenly tent, a heavenly dwelling that's being prepared for us, that's built to withstand all of these things. And that's what Paul's getting at here. He says, meanwhile, we groan. In the meantime, we're not there yet. We're not in heaven yet. God's fullness in His kingdom has not fully arrived yet. And so meanwhile, verse 2, we groan, longing to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling, because when we're clothed, we'll not be found naked. For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling. Listen to this, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. Now, friends, I don't know about you, but I love that imagery. There are times in this life, and not just when I'm exercising, but there are times in this life when I groan at the pain of somebody that I'm engaged with, when I groan at my own insecurity or my own inability to manufacture righteousness within myself, when I groan at broken relationships and things that just aren't quite right. Friends, I love this imagery, and I'm going to read it again in verse 4. Paul says, "For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling." Friends, when we groan, perhaps rather than complain in our groaning, because groaning is a part of reality. It's part of the true nature of this world. It's tough. But when we groan, rather than complaining, perhaps we can remember that our groaning points to something else. Again, verse 4, "For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling." Our groaning points toward that longing to say, God, come quickly and restore and do your work. Clothe me with that which is unseen, with that heavenly dwelling. And then here again is this beautiful picture. He says, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. Lord, cover me with your eternal glory, with your kingdom. Friends, I don't know about you, but I want my groaning to point toward that. And of course, later in the chapter, these beautiful verses, "Therefore, if anyone's in Christ," verse 17, "the new creation has come, the old is gone, the new is here." And verse 21, "God made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." Friends, Jesus seals the deal for us. While we groan in this life, life, while we endure the hardships and the pain and the struggle, remember, God has prepared for us a heavenly dwelling, and He's going to clothe us. We're going to be wrapped in that. We're going to be swallowed up by the life of Jesus because of what He accomplished for us at the cross. Let's put our hope in that today. God bless you, friends. And Lord willing, we'll see you again on the Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. And hey, by the way, just an encouragement to you. So many of you have signed up for growth groups, Sunday Plus, put your kids in Kids Rock or Dig In. Keep it up, friends. I love seeing God moving amongst His people here at Cornerstone. God's up to something here, no doubt. Let's keep our eyes fixed on that which is unseen. Let's keep our eyes fixed on Him. God bless.